Welcome to another edition of Chops and Pops. It is June 6, 2016. Of all the sights and sounds to be seen and heard, you are here with us on our YouTube channel. Thank you so much for joining in. I am Andy.
And I'm Andrew.
And I am Shane.
Thank God I am back from Mars. And welcome to June, haters. Anyway, we got some big stuff to talk about. The draft for the brand split. Cody, Rhodes, Brock Lesnar in the UFC, NXT, the end, question mark.
It's been 6 months. There's a lot of stuff to talk about.
There's quite a bit.
Lot to talk about.
But
Just
we're
a
not going
little
to talk
bit.
about any of that. We're just going to talk about the last 6 days.
Not so much the past. We're about the future and the present.
So what do you want to talk about first? The brand split? That's like
Yeah,
the
that's
biggest
kind of the
news.
biggest thing right
Yeah,
now.
that's the realest thing in the room.
How you
Good
doing?
one, good one. So where to begin? They're splitting up the brands.
They are.
And anybody
Smackdown is
could
going
go,
live.
Yep.
Yeah,
Tuesday nights live.
which will make it more watchable.
So you're going to have occasionally pay-per-views on Sunday nights, Raw every Monday, Smackdown every Tuesday.
NXT every Wednesday.
Yep.
And then
You get a 3 days
main
off.
event air? Is that Friday night?
Main event I think airs Tuesday.
The Tuesday?
But Superstars is Friday. There's a
Yeah.
lot of wrestling.
So much.
But I guess the big discussion is more who's going to go where, how it's going to affect the product, where things are going to be. Because that's another thing about 2016 is that when we started the year, it was, just assuming Reigns was going to be the top guy and
Right.
fantasy booking for everybody who was around. And then out of nowhere, it's like the top guy around is AJ Styles, who wasn't even with the company at the beginning of the year.
Uh-huh.
So point being is that this brand split could really shake things up, and every feud we're watching in the next couple months could be completely different than where things are at right now. So I guess we could start with either talking about where you want things to go, of I guess like dream matches of who you'd like to see paired up, or who should be on what show, or where you think things are going to go, and the ideas of where you think the storylines are going to be taken. So
Okay.
Andy, you start.
I talked about this a little bit before we turned the mics on, and I think this is a phenomenal idea.
Pun intended.
Yes. Because especially with what just transpired this past week with John Cena and Mr. AJ Styles and the club, not the Bullet Club,
No.
just the club,
Yeah. Babysitter's Club.
like the sandwich. They they're gonna start something, and that's gonna be cool. They can go on they can go to Smackdown, and they can put on great matches there.
Yeah.
And that'll be great, because that'll give that storyline enough time to breathe. That'll give the club time to be dominant. Say you send some of the newer guys to SmackDown to really cut their teeth and have the established stars on Raw doing the big storyline. Have Roman Reigns continue his storyline with Seth Rollins. Have Dean Ambrose versus whoever in another wacky gimmick match, because that's what he does now,
Uh-huh.
which I hate. I hate so much.
I
Bray
couldn't
Wyatt
agree
will be
more.
back soon. Randy Orton's going to be back soon. Neville, when he gets his ankle fixed, he'll be back.
That's another thing to point out, is that as much as they could switch everybody up on putting them on a different show, there's still more people that are coming back from injury.
Mhm.
So, yeah, I think the top of the card is going to be completely different than where it's at even just a month from now.
Do you think they're going to add another title? Like a SmackDown-specific world title?
Well, that's the one main question is, what do you do with the champ? Is there one to each company, or I'm sorry, one to each brand, or does the one travel? And that's like the one, or do you make the IC title that much more important and put that on the other one? Like, that's a good way, I think, to do it, to bring something back, because that's one of the things I hated the most about that old brand split, is when they had to have two different titles. Like, people don't even remember that like Jack Swagger was a champion at one point. You know?
I do. I was slightly a Swagger fan.
Yeah, but like, you want to see him hold the one belt that people
Yeah.
really respect and remember. I hated that about it, and that kind of took away from the meaning of the titles. But there's other things, like how feuds can develop, being that they're only going to be on once a week, instead of you have this one match on Raw, the same exact match, and then you recycle, rehash, and this way, once a week, you can do whatever you want with it, and actually give it time to develop.
Well, that's kind of the interesting thing about what you're talking about with because I agree with you, and that's kind of the heated topic of another thing to talk about when talking about the brand split is, are you a fan of there being 2 world champions?
Mm-hmm.
Because that's the other thing to acknowledge of what you were saying is that if there's a second world champion, it's almost like that world championship becomes a second-tier title. Like it's almost like it becomes a mid-card championship.
Right.
Because if it's going to be Swagger holding it on, SmackDown, everything about that just kind of seems like B show. Like it's the B storyline.
Exactly, yeah.
And if you're B and you're not A, then you're second place. You know what I mean? So I agree with you. I don't think there should be 2 world champions. I think that there's enough titles that they could put. I don't necessarily agree with you that the Intercontinental title should be regarded as like a main thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think it should just be that the 2 mid-card, US and Intercontinental go on their separate shows. Tag teams, same thing. I'd rather just see one and see them on both. Like, I think what would work is if the champions are the only ones to be on both shows, because it also makes that championship look more important, that you have to defend it harder.
That
you
makes
know what
sense.
I'm saying?
Defend it against the whole roster.
Yeah, like if there's 2 rosters and you only wrestle on Mondays or you only wrestle on Tuesdays, that's fine. But if you become a champion, you wrestle both nights because you have to defend it that often. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So, yeah. How do you feel about the 2 champion thing, Andy?
See, like I like the idea of elevating the Intercontinental Championship, but then it kind of leaves like a blank spot.
But what about world titles? Like a world title on SmackDown, world title
kind of like what
Raw.
they like with the WWE title, and then there's the World Heavyweight Championship.
Yeah. Are you a fan of that or no?
I mean, I like the idea of having more titles to fight for, but I don't think you need 2 top ones. Like maybe because the Cruiserweight tournament's coming up, so maybe bring that belt back. Like really put an emphasis on like the smaller
I didn't
guys.
think of that. Even with the Cruiserweight Classic coming up, is what if the Cruiserweight Championship came back?
That'd be
They're
cool.
going to have all new wrestlers for it, though, so that's going to increase everything.
And it would really, I don't know, because I feel like a lot of SmackDown could be like this new age or new generation or whatever they're calling this era of WWE. And I think it would be cool because if they don't bring the main title up, like Andrew was saying, elevate the Intercontinental title, then you could have the Cruiserweight and the United States Championship and kind of like equal playing ground, which I guess that could work. And then like the tag team could bounce, women's title could bounce. I don't know. I need one more title.
There's other things like that play into the the main championship that aren't really considered at a time like this when you're thinking just split it in 2. But when you think of when there were 2 titles and say somebody like when Alberto Del Rio, won the Royal Rumble and he chose to take it against Edge, his match was and it ended up being the first match of the night. You're not gonna...
I get what you're saying, because that was at WrestleMania 27 where Edge and Del Rio opened the show with the world title match. The next year at 28, same thing. The world title was the opening match with Daniel Bryan and Sheamus.
Right.
So I see what you're saying, that it kind of gives it the reputation that this isn't the main event scene.
Exactly. And then it's also for Money in the Bank, because I'm sure, I don't know if it happened when there were 2 titles, but there's still that option. Which title are you?
It wasn't an option. I think what it was, they split it up. So the Raw roster fought for the one title, But I think we kind of nailed that. We got on a really good subject of the brand split that I think that's sort of the whole topic is, do you think there should be 2 champions? So now the other side to it, more specifically names, because NXT people could be called up, and that would be huge.
Yeah.
But just to not sound very basic, obviously we could rattle off all the names. Everybody wants to see Bayley come up. Everybody wants to see Asuka, Shinsuke Nakamura, Finn Balor.
Well, rumor is the Jordan and Gable they're coming soon.
Yeah, them too. So let's not be basic and just naming all the people we want to see come up. Specifically, who's somebody you see being called up to the main roster? Who's somebody that you specifically see being now the main attraction on Raw, or specifically going to SmackDown to get more focus put on them? Some actual predictions with actual names. How do you guys feel? Do you see any premonitions, any insights?
You want to?
I think that the new guys are going to go to SmackDown, and the more established folks are going to be at Raw.
You think so?
Your Sheamuses and your Randy Ortons, because they're more involved. it seems like a lot of the new generation stuff, like there's not like, they don't have as much heavy storyline. I mean, there is some deep storyline stuff with the new guys, especially with the back history of Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn and all of everyone's past experiences. But like, I feel like with Sami Zayn and Owens and Cesaro, that like their wrestling tells the story. And I feel like that would be more of an emphasis on SmackDown. That would be more of a
I get
physical show. And that the storyline would be second nature, where Raw would be like the more established guys like Randy Orton, people like that can talk on the mic, which doesn't do well for Roman Reigns. But, oh man, I watched that Suffer and Succotash thing the other day.
Yep.
And I forgot how bad it was.
It was bad.
God, he's great.
See, the only reason why I disagreed with you is because I think that they're trying to promote the product now as being the new era, so you wouldn't have just a bunch of veterans on the main show on Raw. But I see what you're saying.
Yeah, you guys, you kind of like breezed on it. My prediction, what I want to happen out of this is that I want there to be at least one show where it's devoted to the show, and the other show is more marks. For marks, for wrestling fans, for people that want that 20-minute match, for that want,
So one show's for like your casuals and one show's for your like hardcore.
I think that's the best way to really start to get SmackDown on the on the ground running, is to like say you're going to have AJ Styles versus anybody from NXT. Just start the dream matches. And what I think happens with the draft that they're inevitably going to do is I think they're going to include the entire NXT roster. I think that'd be a great way to do it, and I think most of the NXT guys should go to one, and I think that should be SmackDown. And I think that's where they should really start having the kick-ass matches.
I mostly agree with you. I think there would be an exception here or there of like a Finn Balor that should go to Raw.
Oh, yeah,
you know what I mean? But
not completely all like indie darlings and stuff on one show, but
here's the other thing I want to kind of address, and then we could move on to the next subject, is that do you think that with SmackDown being completely rebranded from the ground up, between having its own exclusive roster and being a live show, even the Mauro Ranallo thing is kind of like a new presence to SmackDown, do you think that SmackDown will finally become, I guess, the main brand version of what NXT is? You know what I'm saying? Because that was something people talked about at the beginning of 2016, was that they were trying to make SmackDown very NXT heavy, where it was all those people, those familiar characters like Bayley that you wanted to see, except on a major network television show, and providing kind of like what you were saying, that show for marks, where, Raw could be the mainstream television show, but for us marks that tune in, that we, get to dork out.
Yeah, and where it's been with SmackDown for the longest time has been just, you're getting a lot of the NXT people finally getting their time to show off a match. Problem is, we just saw some version of that match on Monday, and we don't need to see that again. But with it being once a week, having those people only wrestle once a week and more meaningful matches will draw more people in. So I don't have to watch Raw and then go, well, I don't need to see SmackDown, because I know, based off of past experiences, they're just going to have the same match. It's going to end the same way.
Right.
That's
it's kind of a copy and paste thing.
Maybe wins and losses will finally mean stuff, and it'll stop being like you win on Raw, you lose on SmackDown, you win on Raw, you lose on SmackDown. It's back and forth until the pay-per-view, and it's like, wonky finish. I punched in the balls.
Wow.
And on that note, I think... actually, you know what? I was just making a joke, but actually this is a fantastic transition. Brock Lesnar, speaking of getting punched in the balls, that was kind of his whole deal with that Taker storyline, is going to UFC out of nowhere.
Yeah.
I feel like Andrew is the biggest MMA fan out of the three of us, so I feel like you should tell this story.
Yeah, I didn't watch the UFC last night where it was announced in the promo package for the...
Was it 198 or was it a fight night?
No, last night it was 199, because the next one is...
Oh, shoot, it's 199 already?
So they were pulling out...
off.
So they're pulling out all the stops because McGregor is no longer... hasn't been... a part of 200 for a few months now since he went off the deep end.
So last night was supposed to be CM Punk's first fight, because he was supposed to... Yeah, he was supposed to have it at 199.
Yes. I'm glad you brought him up. Yeah.
All right, you take it away, that you're the UFC guy.
So, I missed the event, but I saw the package. I didn't actually see it live, but my phone was blowing up, so I had to see it. That during the first promo that they played for UFC 200, which is expected to be the biggest drawing event of all time, Lesnar was included at the very end, and they didn't announce a fighter yet, but it's not a matter of who he's going to fight. It's at what weight is CM Punk going to match him so that they could fight at a catch weight.
You actually think that would ever happen?
No,
the thing
no,
I was
no.
going to say was, do you think they would actually kind of go all out? Because I kind of feel like even if they worked out this deal, which is a whole other thing we need to talk about, but even if they worked out this deal, do you think they're going to go all out and giving him like a full-on legit fight of like Cain Velasquez, or do you think they're going to kind of like throw him a softball and just like
throw him a can
appearance?
or something?
Yeah.
I have such a hard time comprehending that he would agree to this and
Me
still
too.
keep his
Me
contract
too.
with WWE, because he can very easily get hurt in such a way that he can't just show up to SummerSlam and fight whoever, even in a squash match against, anybody. But my thought is that he faces somebody who used to be in the heavyweight title picture. I don't think it matters who at this point. They just wanted the name on the card because at UFC 100, Brock Lesnar main evented
Yeah,
that. and he
I
headlined
remember.
that.
I watched that one live, and that was
So-
really entertaining. How he threw the who was it? The sponsor down, Miller Lite.
Yeah, he said he's going to go
Bud Light.
lay on his wife
Yeah.
and drink a Bud Light. Yeah.
No, eat her mashed potatoes. That was part of it too. Gotta love Lesnar.
But 200's looking really good. And
Yeah,
that's
actually,
without-
I was gonna say I don't want to change the topic too much with this being a wrestling podcast, but being that it's the biggest names in their company, what is the card right now for UFC 200 as far as the main events go?
Well, I know Frankie Edgar's fighting Jose Aldo for the title.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Okay.
That's probably going to co-main it.
All right, that's pretty
if not
big.
main event it.
Yeah.
Anderson Silva's not going to fight. He just had his gallbladder removed, so he got pulled from it.
Ronda's not ready in time. Did Connor's thing work out to where he's fighting at 200, or is
He's officially, as of last night, fighting Nate Diaz in the rematch at, I think, 202. So
Okay.
he's not going to be... I don't know what the hell happened there with
So
those two.
who? So I guess Edgar
Edgar Aldo
and
who
the
else?
fact that they're bringing in Lesnar is what they're relying on for 200.
There's one more, at least one more, and I
Yeah.
can't remember who it is right now.
Okay, well that's enough UFC
Yeah.
talk
Yeah.
anyway, though. But the thing we haven't acknowledged is the fact that this deal even went down.
Exactly.
Brock Lesnar signed a 3-year deal around WrestleMania time last year, so he's tied down till 2018. Andy, you look like you want to say something.
I know why.
Why?
Remember how it was like Brock Lesnar was like at the UFC events and he was kind of like basically like playing the game? And
Yeah,
Yeah, huh?
politicking.
This is what he did. Do you remember the kind of match that he had with Dean Ambrose and thinking that match should have been probably a bit more hardcore?
He was very protected.
very protected, very like maybe shorter than you would have expected for a match like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's because of this.
Yeah. I get that.
Vince wants Ronda. He wants her so bad.
Well, that
He's
yeah.
gonna,
Could
he's
be.
Gonna, he's gonna give you who you can take, Brock. I want Ronda, damn it.
I mean, we're not pointing out anything that anybody else couldn't put 2 and 2 together, so it's not like we're like breaking news here right now. It's the same thing that everyone else, because it makes no sense, and
Right.
everyone knows Vince is way too stubborn to just be like, "Here,
Yeah.
take my guy."
Yeah.
So everyone just all of a sudden their ears perk up and they're like, "Wait a minute, what's going on here?" So people think that this is kind of the declaration that Ronda will be at WrestleMania next year. Could that
Or-
be true?
Yay.
Yeah, I'm down for it.
Ronda,
Yeah.
Ronda.
And I kind of feel like for there also being backstage rumors that Vince was really pissed about Triple H not working harder to get The Rock at WrestleMania this year. I think that it solidifies even more that we're going to see the tag match as opposed to just seeing Ronda versus Stephanie.
Oh, the mixed tag.
I think we'll get Rock and Ronda versus
Rock and Ronda.
Oh, that's a great tag.
Tweedly, tweedly, dee. Rock and Ronda. So Rock and Ronda versus the Authority, Stephanie and Triple H. If their entrance music was that in Orlando, they would make it work because it's The Rock. You just
He would
picture
sing
like
it.
The Rock
Oh, yeah.
like swinging and like snapping his fingers and like people wouldn't even be like, "This is weird and awkward." It would just work. Rock and Ronda.
And he would probably sing it too. 'Cause everyone loves The Rock.
He would come out with an acoustic
Yeah.
guitar and like,
So,
what can't The Rock make work? I'm sorry.
so we don't get too far off topic. Are we all in agreement though that Lesnar? Because I believe we are going to see Brock Lesnar at SummerSlam.
Absolutely.
I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
unless he breaks a limb or something in a match, which probably isn't going to happen. But not
And
in a
it's
heavyweight
far
fight.
enough away, this UFC event, where like Even if he does get a concussion, he should be cleared again to just murder people for SummerSlam.
How great would it be if they just like threw him somebody in the UFC fight to just like eat, and then they play that into the WWE,
and then he loses in the WWE,
Yeah.
so it makes it. They could do that, but the other, and we can move on after this. But the one thing I wanted to acknowledge is the two different worlds that are the UFC and the WWE. Meaning, what is the type of match that Brock Lesnar going to what is he going to do at SummerSlam immediately following an MMA match? Because if you give him a feud or a program like Bray Wyatt, you have to be aware that that's the perception you're giving to the audience, that he was just in this serious real fight, and then all of a sudden when he comes to WWE world, he's playing with ghosts. You know what I mean? It's not he comes back and has a wrestling match. It's very character and storyline driven. That it's the magical eerie New Orleans
my
guy.
God! What if the reason that CM Punk
Punk isn't coming back. Punk isn't coming back.
He wagered Brock Lesnar for Punk.
Let it go.
Paul Heyman made it happen.
I've read a lot about that, but my prediction is what Shane's saying, and then he loses to either Triple H or John Cena at SummerSlam. So let's move on.
Oh, come on.
Yeah, let's move on. Speaking of quitters,
Get the shovel.
like CM Punk,
Aww.
Cody Rhodes quit the WWE.
Cody Rhodes.
In a lot the same way that Punk did, kind of. Just not
Abruptly.
Yeah.
Still had months left on his contract.
He didn't give him the finger, though.
He was nice.
All reports.
I mean, he kind of was like, I'm not happy with the way I'm booked. But he wasn't like a dick about it.
Right.
You know what's crazy is that if he was as unhappy with his character as he states, he's gone like years trying so hard to make it work.
But he did make it work.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing, is you could take it from the perception of what it was like with him looking in a mirror, putting face paint on, trying to make a character work in front of a camera, or you could just look at the body of work he put out as Stardust. And even if he was miserable doing it, Stardust worked.
Seriously.
And he made it a weird-ass thing like that work.
It speaks volumes to what kind of worker he is, man.
Yeah.
Love Cody.
Well, let's talk about it, because that's the loss of losing a guy that good in the WWE. And apparently, based on a picture that he put up on his Twitter, he doesn't plan on stopping anytime soon. And the second he's available to start working for other companies, he already has big plans.
August 19th.
August 19th is when he's allowed to start wrestling again. And he made a list of all the dream matches of what he wants to do when he leaves the WWE.
I lost it when I read this list.
And I have the list in front of me.
Got it straight.
I don't know all of these people, so
All right.
if you could elaborate on some of the names.
I know every single
quite
name, and
helpful.
I think Andrew knows pretty much
Yeah,
all
I know
of
the
them.
Right.
majority.
So
Very
one
nice.
by one, let's run down Cody Rhodes' dream matches.
Adam Cole.
All right, Adam Cole, baby. I'm surprised Adam Cole's not already in the WWE, but supposedly I think Vince did try to get him, but couldn't because of his Ring of Honor obligations. So yeah, obviously Adam Cole's worthy. Andy, if he doesn't ring a bell, you definitely have seen him, because Adam Cole wrestled AJ Styles in Toronto when we went to Ring of Honor.
Oh, that guy. Okay.
Because I hyped him up, and I remembered you saw the match
It
with
was a
AJ
botched
Styles,
match. It
and
was
you
a
were just
very-
kind of like, he's not that good. I was like, he botched a lot.
It was a lot. It was a very
That's not-
botch-heavy
yeah.
match. Yeah. I'm not going to blame that again on him.
But you've at least seen his style, and you
Right.
could understand how he's like a young kid with like a bright future.
Yeah.
That
Right.
like, he
Yeah.
would be good for Cody.
Hey,
Alright.
what does it say about him that he's first on the list?
That too. Yeah.
Is that crazy?
Aren't you a big Adam Cole fan, or?
I never saw enough of his matches before I saw this list, but I've definitely seen him in ROH stuff before, and I was like, really, Cody? I love you, man.
I think what's interesting is to just know that Cody really has kept tabs the way that
Yeah.
we do,
Yeah.
watching indie and international wrestling. Of like, he's aware of all the top guys.
Adam
you know?
Cole,
Who else?
Dalton Castle.
The
party peacock.
The party peacock, the man, the myth, the
These are
legend.
my boys.
Him and his boys.
Oh,
For some reason, as weird as it is, I couldn't imagine a better pairing than Cody Rhodes and Dalton Castle. Like,
Are you thinking more goofy Cody Rhodes, or are you talking like straight Cody Rhodes, like
both,
goofy Castle?
both, because even
Serious.
serious Cody would work so well
Yeah.
in contrasting Dalton.
It'd be that serious wrestler with a lineage and a legacy versus the party peacock with his boys.
And not to make things sad or anything like that, but if Dusty was still alive, and Cody leaving the WWE, Dusty would be there. To where Can you imagine a guy like Dusty's interactions with the Party Peacock, Dalton Castle? That's
you just got
wrestling
me thinking,
gold.
He probably knew of him before he passed.
I would assume so.
So it's
yeah.
like, what if he's... Oh, man.
What if Dalton got to NXT and got to learn from Dusty? Yeah. But yeah,
Next.
Next.
Bola.
Which stands for the Battle of Los Angeles, which is PWG's big 3-day weekend tournament, which is like their WrestleMania, which shows he obviously wants to compete with the best of the indies. And the interesting thing is the Battle of Los Angeles is in August every year.
Yeah.
He's free August 19th, which is a Friday. If Battle of Los Angeles is that weekend, Battle of Los Angeles will be his debut after the WWE. Or if it's the following weekend, he'll be free to do that. So I don't know where his bookings of what he has already going on with like Angle and Bennett fall with all that, but yeah, PWG. Cody Rhodes and PWG. That's a dream. Yeah.
Kurt Angle.
Which is
It's
already
confirmed.
announced.
Yeah.
And it's a dream match on paper, but Angle in 2016.
He's a little old. And his neck
It's
problems.
not even old. It's the condition he's in.
Yeah.
It's not just... Yeah, it's not him versus Cody Rhodes. It's him versus anybody you don't feel good about.
It's him versus his health at this point.
Yeah. Still good.
Hero.
Our boy.
Everybody's boy. Chris Hero.
Let's just hope the match doesn't go on for more than 10 minutes.
Why?
Because Chris Hero might get gassed.
That's not true at all. But the only thing I'd say about Hero is that even if Cody's keeping tabs on the indie scene and the top guys, the top free agents, it's surprising. Just because Hero's been around for so long that I feel like he's taking more notice to the Dalton Castles, Adam Coles, the guys who are like making making a name for themselves, could be signed soon. That Hero, putting him on the list just kind of shows like Cody's just looking for the best of the best.
Yeah, that he's like watched their matches and go, I think I would fit stylistically really well with them.
And think about that. Hero versus Rhodes, that's a really good wrestling match.
It's a great fight poster, too.
Yeah. Who else?
The Miracle. With quotation marks around it.
Michael Bennett, which is the second match he's booked,
Right,
from what I understand.
Very nice.
Thank God he didn't book that match in TNA.
Oh, boy.
Because Michael Bennett does wrestle for TNA. And yeah, I mean, Michael Bennett's good.
I don't know
I'd
much
like
about
to see
Michael
it.
Bennett.
He's married to Maria. He's
Right.
been in Ring of Honor for a number of years now. Probably going on like 6-7 years. He's been pretty much a singles wrestler most of his career. He created a tag team with Matt Taven called The Kingdom, and they were bouncing around for a while. Yeah, he's good. He's got an upside. People thought he was going to be signed to the WWE a while ago, and he still hasn't been signed yet. But yeah,
He's
else?
in Dixieland now.
Yeah, who else is on that list?
Moose.
Moose. Why don't you do this? Because you're familiar with Moose. What would you think of a Moose Cody Rhodes match?
That'd be a lot of fun. He seems like a fun guy, this Moose. From what I saw in Toronto, apparently that was like a big coming out for him too. Like that was like a big moment for Moose.
It was towards the beginning of his run with Ring of Honor, and he's pretty fresh off of playing football to get into the wrestling world.
I just like saying the word Moose, I think.
Everybody does.
Moose.
You can't
That's
say it
fun.
and not be happy.
Moose.
Again,
Moose.
to point out, interesting name for Cody Rhodes to put on the list.
Yeah.
You know what I
Moose.
mean?
Yeah.
Like everybody else, it's like, but Moose, he wants Moose. You
Mhm.
know?
He's watched him and he said, I think I fit well with you.
I want the Moose.
He wants the Moose.
Pat Buck.
Okay, Pat Buck, I won't say a lot about because he's the one I'm the least familiar with, but I know he is a trainer at one of the wrestling schools. He works with PWS, Pro Wrestling Syndicate, which I'm friends with a couple of people who work with that company, so I won't embarrass myself of rambling on about him, but again, just interesting name that Cody put on there.
The Streamers thing.
Okay. What do you guys think the streamers thing means?
I think of streamers, I think of Ring of Honor and those little like things you throw in the ring. That's it.
The streamers?
Streamers, yeah. That's what when I the streamer thing, I'm like, he just wants to be at a Ring of Honor show.
Yeah.
My first understanding of it was when I first saw my first. God, I'm saying first a lot. My first match where
It's not the first time you've said first.
where streamers were involved, and I lost it because it's the most magical experience ever when a match starts.
It's amazing the things colored paper can do.
And they don't let it happen at WWE events. So my guess is he just wants to be involved in a match where it happens.
There was one.
Oh, right, yeah. With the
Beast in the East.
Yeah. And Kevin Owens played to that crowd very well.
See, you guys didn't really touch on what I was kind of hinting towards, is that I feel like that was Cody's way in disguise of saying he wants to go over and do tours of Japan. Like, I get that Ring of Honor does streamers, but I always... That's where it was birthed. The streamers are Japanese. So, and I'm jumping ahead here, but he does have a New Japan guy on the list.
Yep.
But I just felt like that was a hidden way of him hinting towards Japan with not just saying somebody in particular, but saying that he won. Cody Rhodes in New Japan, you put him in main event matches with guys like Naito for the world title. That's,
So many possibilities
Yeah.
now.
Who else?
The Young Bucks. Both of them.
Who would he tag with? That's
His brother. He'd have to leave.
Does would have to
That's the
leave.
only thing I could
Yeah.
think of.
Or Damien.
Yeah.
Remember that tag team, Rhodes Scholars?
yeah.
They were great.
Oh my
were great.
god. Oh my god.
And Damien's freed up now.
Yep.
Ted DiBiase Jr.
They could come back.
Wow, I forgot about Ted DiBiase Jr.
Legacy.
Legacy.
Oh. He has some possibilities then, but Young
Who doesn't
Bucks-
want to tag
I
him?
would much rather see him and Sandow. Because
Yeah.
I love the Rhodes Scholars.
Or him and...
You're welcome.
Who else?
Trevor Lee.
Good name, and again, just shows he's keeping track of who's on the indie scene, and I could see that match happening in PWG, maybe even at Battle of Los Angeles, but who else?
Shibata.
Oh, yeah.
The dream matches of dream matches, and I guess by putting him on the list, Cody Rhodes is just verifying to everybody that he wants to die.
In a wrestling ring.
Yeah.
That's the way to go.
Cody versus Shibata. Never. Here's the thing when it comes to wrestling, just never say never. Because we're watching AJ Styles main event WWE, and Cody Rhodes might book a match with Shibata. Anybody could fight anybody.
Don't they have advertised Shinsuke versus John Cena at like one of the
Hawaii.
Yeah.
That's happening.
Yeah.
Who would have thought?
Match
Right?
that could sell out a WrestleMania.
Sting was at WrestleMania a year ago, and now it's just like, oh, that's the norm.
Yeah.
Like, anything's possible.
Personal ring announcer.
Which I guess refers to his wife.
Right. And then the final name on the list, Roderick Strong.
Do you want to take away, Andrew? Because you're a strong fan.
Just because the first time I read this list, I remember reading that one as the last name, and I was going, "You have me," because Roddy Strong, man, the guys that put on the best matches in ROH he has on this list, except with the exception of like Lethal and Briscoe. But
that was the name everyone was bringing up. That for all the indie guys he listed, everyone was pointing out you forgot to mention Jay Lethal. That's like the one people want to see.
It's obvious why. Ran out of room on the paper.
There you go.
Filled that thing up. Why he wasn't using an app on a smartphone, I don't know, but Roderick Strong.
You know what? It's such a hipster move, writing things on paper. It's such a hipster move.
That he didn't type it up on his laptop.
Like, why wouldn't you just type it up on a laptop?
Well, he could have.
Like-
If it was a true hipster, he would have done it on a typewriter, right?
I'll admit, though, being that I'm literally sitting right in front of you with things written on a piece of paper,
yeah.
and the fact that I was going to say at work anyway, things I could type up, I write down. I get it. But since we've been talking about this for a while, I guess the way to wrap it up is go around in a circle. Out of that list, what is the match you want to see the most? Or is there somebody not on that list that you want to see Cody Rhodes, that he, not in Dreamland, somebody who's a free agent or somebody who's on the indie scene, part of another company you'd like to see Cody wrestle? First, starting off with who's on that list, who do you want to see the most?
Honestly, Dalton Castle.
Yeah?
I want that so badly.
It'd be entertaining.
It would really show like Dalton Castle in all of his glory, like being able to be in the ring with Cody Rhodes, with the boys.
And even when Cody's a serious wrestler, from seeing what he did at Stardust, you know, like the comedy he could do with Dalton in a ring would be priceless. No pun intended.
God, yes.
I would have to say that probably Moose. For some reason.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but for some reason I feel like that would be much better than I think people would give it credit for.
I think it would have been so funny if he put John Cena on the list.
Did he ever even fight? I'm
I
thinking
don't
about
think
that
so.
now, and it's like I don't remember seeing Cena in a one-on-one ring with Cody.
Just with Stardust.
He did fight He fought Stardust last year. That was when
for the United States
he cut his eye.
Mm-hmm.
I remember
right,
that. That was
right.
the U.S. Open.
That was a good one too.
That was.
Meaning-
But you saw Cena get pissed in the ring when
Mhm.
Stardust. Yeah. Mine would be Shibata.
Hmm.
Easily, because that's just the unrealistic dream to me, and now it could happen.
Within 1 year, we will see probably a majority, if not all of these matches happen.
Yeah, he's probably going to get him booked sooner than later.
He's
And,
the hot ticket right now.
Yeah, I don't think there's anybody I would think of, except for probably like the entire New Japan roster of people not on that list that I would want to see Cody fight.
You got to put him in the G1 Climax.
Yeah,
Mm.
like for real. Do the G1 this year? That would. I mean, that's too soon. That would be before the 19th. But
Right.
seeing him in matches like that would be nuts.
I'm kind of mad he didn't have anybody in Lucha.
He didn't.
I guess because they're so contractually obligated that he would have to sign with Lucha to get those
Right.
guys. But
Mm.
yeah, I don't know.
He mentioned a lot of PWG, right?
Yeah.
Mm.
All right. Well, we'll miss Cody. Last topic,
NXT the end.
which is the end of our topics.
Is it the end?
For who?
It's the first cage match in NXT history. Samoa Joe and Finn Balor.
It's the last NXT takeover before the brand split.
Mm.
Yes,
So it might be the last time we see a few of these guys.
most
Yeah.
likely. Which I think is the meaning behind the title for the end.
Yeah.
I think we've talked about Balor and Joe before on the show with their other matches, about how, at least I did, about how I didn't believe in them, and then the storyline as it progressed has gotten better and better.
Yeah.
Are you guys looking forward to the steel cage match? Because I am.
Oh.
And I wasn't really into their feud.
As long as Joe doesn't get cut open in the first exchange.
Oh no, I think he should get cut open in the first exchange. All joking aside, because I think a steel cage match back in the day, that was sort of the thing, was steel cage matches were the easiest match for wrestlers to work, because all you would have to do is get in the ring, add color, and then just do the bumps into the cage. All they'd have to do is blade themselves and they wouldn't even have to work. But
Good
now
point.
you can't do that.
I am looking forward to it. I think that this storyline's a lot like AJ Styles and Roman Reigns, where it started off bad with bad matches, and then as it went on, it got better with time. Kind of like AJ with Jericho too.
I was just going to say, like every single Jericho program.
Yeah, it definitely has gotten better, and I loved especially that we're seeing something from Finn Balor like we haven't seen in the past 8 months. Maybe I've been missing it, but I didn't like what we've seen, which is a lot of nothing. We went a long time there where I don't think we saw Finn Balor, and he was champ.
His championship run was kind of poopy.
Yeah,
It was a little poopy.
It was poopy.
it was, and it had you thinking, all right, well, it's he's a little bland, but it's because he's going to be a part of the Bullet Club when they get called in, and it never happened. Never happened. I want to see Samoa Joe versus Finn Balor in a cage, though. I think that's going to be crazy.
Yeah.
About Shinsuke and Austin Aries.
It's putting Shinsuke in a position where he's going to excel, because he's in the ring with somebody who can fight his style. And Austin Aries doesn't hold back. And one of the things we've always said, even if we've been critical of Austin Aries, is that his matches are good. We might
Yeah.
not believe in him as a character, or believe that in the swimming pool of the WWE
Right.
roster, he'll be able to stand out enough. But in a ring, he's good. He's not just good, he's great.
Yeah,
So him and Shinsuke,
probably
I
going to be
mean-
match of the night.
most likely.
Most likely.
Yeah.
And it would, being that they haven't built Shinsuke into any long-standing storyline. I mean, is this a number one contenders match? I feel like I heard that somewhere.
It is.
Is it? I
It
didn't
is.
think it was.
It's a number one contenders match.
Really?
Okay, I wanted you guys to say no, it's not, because I was going to say this would be Shinsuke's last NXT match, and then they're going to hold him off until the brand split, and then he's main eventing, and then my dreams come true.
All of our dreams come true.
Yeah.
Then you have Asuka versus Nia Jax for the women's
I'm
title.
looking forward to that. I'm really looking forward to that.
It could be good. But the contract signing went well. She yelled. Asuka talked a little bit, which is nice. You don't get to hear her speak much.
I just
No.
like that for when you think of the women that are on the NXT roster and you think of Asuka being champion, the first thing that comes to mind is like nobody can go toe to toe. Like I'm not going to believe Carmella or even
No.
Alexa Bliss when she's making an angry face
Right.
can actually
Yeah.
stand toe to toe with Asuka. And then it's like, oh, wait a minute, Nia Jax is here. It's like, oh, that's a legitimate match.
Yeah.
Okay.
I wasn't looking forward to it, but I got drawn in. I didn't think Nia Jax could ever pull off a good promo, but she's been doing pretty well getting in Asuka's face, and that's what you need for this exact rivalry, because Asuka is, like you said, Andy, she doesn't talk much.
No.
She doesn't need to, but like somebody needs to.
Right.
And Nia Jax doing a pretty good job. I want to see that match, especially. And we're talking about an NXT match that doesn't include Bayley or Sasha.
Right.
We're looking forward to it.
This is like the first non-horsewoman, like, main woman match in, like, a very long time.
Good
and
point.
I think Bayley and Asuka was main, but it was just that it followed Shinsuke and Zayn.
Yeah.
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 That was...
And
it is hard to follow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What else? Is the Jordan and Gable
Tag
versus
match.
Revival again?
Yeah.
Is it?
I see it being good.
That could be a great match.
I think Dallas was a great match, and the
Mm.
only thing that was held against it was the one major botch they had. You take that botch out, and it's one of the strongest tag
Right.
team matches all year.
They're both very good. I mean, you have the Revival with their, like, old school, no
Yes.
flips, just fists.
I want that shirt. I
And
want
then
that shirt.
You have Jordan and Gable, who are just great amateur-style wrestlers. Like,
Yeah.
they're great. And then, you have Jason Jordan, the suplex machine.
He goes crazy with the
He
Germans.
does a
And
lot
the belly to
of
belly.
suplex. So many suplexes. And then Almas is making an appearance. His first appearance.
Yep, his debut.
Is Eric young?
I forget
No.
who he's...
No,
Who is he fighting?
Ty Dillinger.
No!
Yeah,
He just started winning. Come on, man. Give Dillinger something.
That's
But,
a guy that's going to be in the mid card soon.
How do you say his name? Alias?
Dude, I don't know.
Either way, it was Lasombra.
One of the names is Almas.
It's Lasombra from CMLL. I saw Lasombra wrestle when CMLL did the tours of New Japan that they do every January, and he's good. It's not somebody I'm going to rant and rave about, but it's interesting to see what they're going to do with him, and the fact that they're having him wrestle unmasked.
That's weird, especially because that's what he's known as, a mask guy.
Yeah.
So that's like, oh, Ray, you want to be a wrestler? Cool, take your mask off. Ugh. What else? Is there anything else going on in this card, or is that it?
Nope, that's the whole card. Or should I say, that's the end.
Bum, bum,
Oh.
bum.
Chop time.
Hey, yo.
Chop
Chopping. How about it? Oh, chop time.
Been a while.
I think you should go first, Danny.
Okay. So my chop goes to Shane McMahon shaking his butt with the New Day
What?
on Raw.
You didn't like it?
No.
Why not? Because he couldn't do it.
No, Shane McMahon should not be shaking his butt with anybody. He could do his money dance where he does the skipping and the spinning of his arm.
Right.
That's the Shane McMahon dance. That's the only dance he has to do. I mean, I know he's like the cool McMahon,
Yeah.
but like
He shakes his booty.
he could do his McMahon dance without having to be New Day. Booty.
Oh.
That was booty. His dance was booty.
They had to do something to lighten the mood. Everybody was kind of like, what's going on here?
It was a poopy Raw.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's been bad.
It was a bad Raw.
It's been bad.
Aside from a couple of high points, it was a poopy Raw. So you know what?
It's poop-tastic.
That's the biggest poop. Was that
That deserves like 3 poop emojis.
talking that poop?
That was
Poop
booty.
mouth. So that's my chop.
Shane's booty was booty.
Shane's
Yep.
booty was booty. So
Not
that.
my booty. Shane McMahon's booty.
McMahon.
Yeah, not our Shane.
Yeah. Andrew?
My chop is I think it's gonna surprise some people. My chop is
Is
Eight-
this a Vince Russo swerve that we
Oh,
need to
God.
prepare for?
Oh no.
Vince Russo.
Are you going to put something on a pole, and then me and Andy are going to have to...
Dancing
Right to-
bikinis
yep.
towards it.
Yep.
No.
There's an image, listeners. There's an image.
No, my chop is going to be AJ Styles' newest rivalry. Feud, I should say.
That's your chop?
Yeah.
Wow.
And here's why.
Really?
It's because he's going to lose this round. He's going to lose this one. He's going to do the job to John Cena, and he will have successfully lost his 3 most meaningful matches in...
WWE.
Yeah. Well, not matches, feuds. Jericho at Mania, and then Roman Reigns twice. 2 different pay-per-views, and then Cena, because you can't bring Cena back from this
Yeah.
soon and then Expect and what the hell, man? He's so good. AJ is so talented. He's so over. He's so great. He's paid so many dues. He's won so many titles. He has the look. He has the style. He has the work ethic, and he's run into the inevitable Cena wall.
But I see what you're saying, and you definitely have a valid point. But do you ever appreciate the opportunities that he's been given since being signed? In the fact that AJ Styles could have been put in any position imaginable. And that's any position, meaning he could have just come to the company and gone no higher than a U.S. title feud with Kalisto. In terms of what you're talking about, of all the good qualities he has and how good of a worker he has, do you ever just appreciate the fact that he's already in main events, he's fighting the top guy, John Cena, as opposed to the fact that he's booked to lose him?
You know what? That brings up... That
Am I your silver lining?
That put everything in perspective, because I have thought about it, and it's been my saving grace since, honestly, his feud with Jericho, where before he came to WWE and he was like off the grid somewhere, and everybody's like, he's going to be in NXT because it only makes that much sense. Put him in NXT with Samoa Joe and the TNA guys.
There was never an exception to the rule. No matter how good you were, Samoa Joe, whoever, you had to start in NXT.
He's the exception.
Yeah.
And he's gotten it. He's gotten 2 title matches. I can't hold that against him. I love the fact that he's got them.
A singles match at WrestleMania 3 months after signing with the company.
And now he has the dream match that people have been wanting to see, which, if you saw Raw, that standoff between the two was like... They had a 10-minute AJ Styles versus John Cena chant going on, which might have been piped in. I don't know. But that was
just 10 years of pent-up emotion the crowd has had.
How
of,
special.
like, thinking this could happen one day and then it happening right in front of your face.
And Dixie's just...
crying.
But yeah, the feud, or, his destiny is my chop, but the way he's been treated, I don't think it's chop-worthy.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
Okay.
My chop of the week is going to go to some bad news that we got this week in New Japan, because a match that people were looking forward to was a ladder match between Kenny Omega and Hiroshi Tanahashi for the Intercontinental title. The reason it was so anticipated, beyond the fact that those two are amazing and the storyline's great and people wanted to see it, is that New Japan never does gimmick matches. They don't have steel cage matches. They don't have ladder matches. They don't even do like last man standing or falls count anywhere matches. They're strictly either one-on-one or tag matches or six-man tag, whatever. But they built up this storyline of these two guys that's been going on for a half a year now, and it was going to be a ladder match for the Intercontinental title. And when you think of how stiff New Japan strong style can get and stuff like that, and how good Omega is and Tanahashi, it was something to look forward to. Tanahashi is injured, though, and the match will not be taking place now. He injured his shoulder, and he's going to be out for a little while. The good news is that there still will be a ladder match for the Intercontinental title, except it's going to be Kenny Omega defending against Michael Elgin now, as opposed to Tanahashi. So
I like Michael Elgin.
Yeah, it's going to be good. It's going to be really good. It's just
not
people who were looking forward to Tanahashi. I mean,
have they wrestled before?
Who?
Omega and Tanahashi.
Yeah, that's how he won his Intercontinental title, because it was vacated when Shinsuke Nakamura got signed to NXT.
Right.
Tournament happened. The winner of the tournament fought Kenny Omega, because Kenny Omega was the guy who was supposed to get a title match against Shinsuke, and it was Omega and Tanahashi in the finals. Omega won it.
Okay.
So yeah, chop of the week is Tanahashi's injury.
Boo.
But with all bad news,
Good.
always good news.
The good.
The good.
So much less abrasive now. Oh, yeah. So my pop is actually Andrew's chop.
No way.
I'm pretty excited to see John Cena fight AJ Styles, even though AJ's probably going to do the job. It'd just be good. I feel like John Cena's going to have to do more than one AA to beat AJ, unlike Roman Reigns' one spear.
Yeah, one spear versus 2 Styles clashes, one of which was onto a chair.
How many phenomenal forearms? Like 4.
Yeah.
One of them was like through a table.
Yeah, it was
Like...
actually put through the table. Somehow a forearm went through the table. But I totally... Phenomenal. I just want to say that I agree with both you and Shane. Like, I can easily turn my chop into a pop if I wanted to look at it that way, but I'm too much of a fanboy for him to be like, this is great for his career. At the same time, he's had such tremendous...
Did you see John Cena's pants?
No, I can't see him.
Ellen's face on them. Oh my god, I saw the funniest meme this past week, which is lame, me saying that out loud. It was a picture of John Cena like with his head in his hand,
yes.
and it said, when she asks if she can see you, and he just looks like really distraught because you can't see him.
I saw there was a status on Facebook somebody made where if I had $100 million just given to me at one point, I would build the most expensive and effective pair of X-ray glasses just so I could see John Cena. And I don't think it would work still.
No, you can't see him.
What are you looking forward to most, though? The way that they play this feud out with, like, the Bullet Club? Oh, I'm sorry, the Club, or the match?
I think just the match, just with the quality of matches that John Cena put out all last year with the United States Championship runs.
Yeah.
The fact that he's just putting himself in these great matches, and AJ can go, and John Cena, big match John. You know, he's always puts it out. So,
and we're finally getting what we want.
That's kind of the matter to all of their being, is the two of them, they excel in big-time matches.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They're main event guys. That is their thing. John Cena and AJ Styles are always in the main event of whatever company they go to.
Yeah.
And I think that's why the audience reaction was so strong.
Hmm.
You know, we always get those dream matches, even when we think they're not going to happen, of somebody coming from one company to another company that you thought they'd never work for, like Sting, you know what I mean? But it's more than that, because they're the top. They are the top of the mountain. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't get any better than what's happened. If you look at career success over the last, like, 10, 15 years, they're the GOATs.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely.
Wow. My pop is going to that latest member of the Rhodes family to leave the WWE. I am so excited to see what he's going to do within the next 12 months with his wrestling career, now that his calendar is completely open and he can face whoever he wants. And he actually made a freaking list within, like, 2 weeks, not even, of being released. And just to see that, you know, made me think, when I first heard that he left, I'm expecting a hiatus. I'm expecting some type of CM Punk thing where it's like, well, we're going to hear from him probably in 6 months, but it's going to be, he'll sign a contract with PWG, and that'll be that. He wants to hit the ground running, and he wants to do great things that not just fans and marks all over the world are going to go crazy for, but that he himself, the man himself, wants to do, because he's been dreaming of doing it. You got to give all the credit in the world to somebody who's not afraid to take chances and leave something safe, like a career with the WWE, and do something that you love. And that's follow your dreams and wrestle guys you want to wrestle. I'm so excited. Stoked.
Cody, whoa.
I see what you're saying. It's almost like the inspirational moment that CM Punk had leaving the company, but without the negativity.
A lot.
You know what I'm saying?
A lot of that. It's all gone. The fact that he put out that list, you can't compare the two situations now, because with Punk it was like, oh, he wasn't being treated right and he let the world know it, and now he's going to follow his dream with the UFC. Well, we saw how that turned out. And with Cody, it's completely different. He left. And with Cody, it's also different because he
still loves wrestling. That's two completely different things with him and Punk that makes it not comparable.
Yeah, but I mean, what the only poor taste that it leaves in my mouth, the whole situation, is just that it's Dusty Rhodes' son. Why wasn't he happy in WWE?
Right, that like if Dusty passed a year ago and that was around the same time that he became unhappy with the company, what also wasn't he unhappy about?
Am I crazy for thinking that?
Yeah, no. As long as you're good, though, I'm going to keep mine short and sweet, because it's the same as Andy's and brings up the same thing about you know, finding the things you didn't like about it. My pop of the week was Cena and Styles becoming a possibility, because the moment of them being in the ring at Raw with the crowd reaction they received, it's like I said before, it's just one of those things that comes around, you know, once in a generation that you get to really look forward to, and that happened this week. So my pop of the week is Cena and Styles.
Okay.
Wonderful. Well, that was a great show. It's good to be back, and I hope you'll see you soon. So have a good one, everybody.
See you later.
But wait, there's more.
Oh, snap. Oh, snap.
Oh, it's not over.
Not yet.
Are we sure?
No. No, it's not. It's not.
So we got.
We have a list.
So if the show's not over, and we're going to talk about a few more things, I think we should pep up the audience real quick and give them something to talk about. I think you should discuss the Jeff Hardy, Matt Hardy storyline that's been going on in TNA.
Listen.
To build up to Slammiversary.
Okay.
This is something.
This is. I don't really.
And give details, because there are people
Right.
that just don't care about TNA and would never. So you have to break this down and try to make somebody
Okay.
understand what the hell you're actually talking about.
Okay. So what I can gather from the couple of promos that I've seen is that Matt Hardy has officially lost his mind. He has this big blonde streak in his hair. He kind of looks like a mad scientist. Like,
Oh, you don't get it? He's trying to look like Seth.
oh. It's there's a lot going on, man. It makes Jeff look normal, which is kind of insane because Jeff is the unhinged one. I mean, he was Willow for a while, and I don't know much about TNA, but I know this is the craziest thing that I've seen in a very long time in wrestling.
Period.
And it makes me care about it because it's so crazy. From what
It's kind of like a B movie.
Yeah.
That it's so bad, like Snakes on a Plane type thing of where it's so
Yeah.
bad it's good.
You're tearing me apart. Ah. It's like
What
that kind of stuff.
What about? Because I only read one person's criticism of it that was pro the whole situation, and if you look at it from the perspective of it's Matt Hardy taking where his life is now and using it as his character. Like, he has successfully become a crazy person, like a deranged person, and it makes you believe that much more in his character in this feud. I don't know how to explain it, but like you could be a crazy person in a feud and it's not convincing. It's more convincing now because he's lost his marbles.
Actually crazy.
And the bad
sincerely.
acting is really helping.
The bad acting, exactly.
You have like these great shots of Jeff Hardy riding up on a dirt bike, which is great. It's
just seems like something straight out of Thunder
Right.
in Paradise.
Right.
Like early 90s Hulk Hogan movie with like the montage with like the 80s music playing in the background and like him driving through the hills like
then he arrives, and then Matt Hardy's wife comes out with the baby on her front and one of those like baby.
Not to cut you off, but just to follow this story. Okay, why was Jeff Hardy even going to Matt Hardy's house?
I don't know.
You don't know.
I don't even know.
So the scene just opens and it's badass music playing
just
with Jeff Hardy
Jeff Hardy
badass on
riding
a motorcycle or
Just-
dirt bike.
Just
Yeah.
riding a dirt bike over. And then she comes out and she's like, I can't take it. I don't know what's wrong with him anymore. I can't take it, Jeff. He's crazy. And she's like leaving. She's leaving with the baby, and it's like, oh my God, what's going on? She's leaving. I'm like, what has Matt done? And Jeff's
So
like,
Matt's lost it
Matt's
so
lost it.
much that even Reby can't handle
Yeah,
it
she's
anymore.
leaving.
Which is a shoot, which is what happened in real life like 2 years ago and got the cops involved. But okay.
and she's taking the child. So Jeff's like, I gotta find my brother. So he like looks for him and he finds him out in the back. And he's in the ring and he's rambling like a madman. He's like, Brother Nero. Who is Nero? Is he talking about like ancient Roman, like Caligula and stuff like that?
I think
What's going on?
they just actually used the storylines of what they wrote as backyard wrestlers when they were 6 years old, and just assume that the rest of the world is going to know what they're talking
gonna
about.
follow along.
Yeah.
So like Jeff is like,
It's supposed to be a contract signing, isn't it?
it is. It's supposed to be a contract signing. That's it.
That was almost a spit take from me.
That's what it was. It was supposed to be a
It was
contract
just
signing.
Supposed to be.
It was supposed to be
Wow.
a contract signing, but Matt was being weird, so that's why he went to his house. Then the scene with the wife happens. He finds him in the back in their like garage with the ring. He's rambling some nonsense. Jeff confronts him and he's like,
And just to paint the picture, that was the one part I did see. They have a shed, and inside the shed they have their practice ring, their
Right.
wrestling ring,
Which
they
has
practice
an
at.
oddly shaped, misplaced circular table
Yep.
right outside
from the
of the ring.
1800s.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
just this random round table.
So they lead their way into this shed after.
Right.
Okay.
So he goes, he confronts him in the ring, and they're talking about Slammiversary, and he's like, why do we have to wait till Slammiversary? I'll fight you right now. I'll fight you right now. And then Reba comes. Here she comes.
With the baby.
Jeff, and you see her unclicking the baby. You're like, what the hell is going on? She unclicks the baby, throws the baby at Jeff. Jeff catches this fake baby, looks very confused. Matt breaks a bottle on his head, like puts him in what looks like the rock bottom, like says some crazy nonsense.
On the apron of the ring.
On the apron of the ring, and then like rock bottoms him onto this table. And the table like just like it's
like it doesn't
it's
break, it just
it's
tips.
It's not a real
like
table.
Yeah.
It's a circle table, so when you hit it, it's not going to break in half.
No.
It's a friggin' circle. It's going to bend. I'm sorry, it's going to tip over, and he's going straight into the concrete floor, which is exactly what happened.
And then I guess he signed the contract, and that was it.
All of that, really.
And it was wonderful, and I really care about this match now. And I really want to see this match more than anything.
I don't even know what to say about this. I've never seen any clip like that in any movie of anything I've ever watched. And within 2 minutes, because I think that's what the total running time of this masterpiece was, is 2.5 minutes.
Most of it was dirt bike, like just driving scenes. And it's going to be great. It's going to be one for the ages if they continue this nonsense in the ring. If Matt Hardy continues to be this crazy preaching Brother Nero guy in the ring, and Jeff is playing the straight man, this is going to be the craziest thing.
Jeff is playing
ever.
the sane guy.
Like, is he going to come out with face paint, and Matt's going to come out with face paint, and it's going to be like, who's got the crazier face paint? Like, I hope Matt's hair is like all white with like a black streak in it.
Yes.
For the
Like Doc from Back to the Future.
Like Doc from Back to the Future.
Great Scott.
Comes out in like a white jacket with like these big black leather gloves and just looking all bug-eyed, like freaked out.
You know what? Somewhere Vince Russo is going, I need to get these guys to work with me. They're geniuses.
So it's wonderful. It's going to be... I might actually consider watching
I
at least
We'll
that match.
watch it here.
Yeah.
It's next weekend, and I was going to say, I was going to actually run down the card real quick and talk about Slammiversary, but being that we're already over an hour, I think the Hardy storyline is enough
That's
to discuss.
icing.
We could talk about it next week when the pay-per-view
Our last
happens.
Slammiversary episode was us asleep with it on the screen.
That's right. No,
it
that
was-
was Bound for Glory.
That was Bound for Glory?
But Slammiversary last year, I think we had it on my laptop while we were taping the show, and even with only checking in on it every few minutes, it was still not even entertaining enough to keep our attention then. But
That's wonderful.
all right.
So what else is
Does
yeah,
anything follow that?
yeah, nothing's
can?
gonna follow that. So I'm gonna run through these real quick. New Japan have their Super Junior tournament going on right now. The finals are about to take place in 2 days, so most of the tour has already happened. There's a match that's taken place that everybody seems to be talking about, even friends that I have that aren't even huge wrestling fans. I've been seeing posting about it on Facebook, and there's a group I'm part of on Facebook where people are talking about it that normally
went
don't talk
viral.
about Japanese wrestling. So Will Ospreay, who is a guy that everybody's talking about regardless of this match, had a match with Ricochet as part of the Super Juniors, and it was very flippy dippy.
So much.
Very theatric.
So much.
But the flippy dippiness was done very well, and that's kind of what Super Juniors is. It's a cruiserweight tournament, so it's what you really look for. But another match that I would point out to people to check out was on day one. Kushida in the main event with Kyle O'Reilly had a really great match, and I need to check out some of the other days, and maybe next week once the finals have happened, run down some of the best matches. But definitely check that out. And beyond that, New Japan has their Dominion show, which is their half-year show, their marker for the Tokyo Dome. So it's probably their second or third biggest show of the year, I would say, because the card is really good. But that's going to be coming up in 2 weeks, so to look at that. Shiozaki won the GHC World Championship in Noah this past week by defeating Takashi Sugiura. I'm not going to talk about it a lot because we're at the end and you guys don't even watch Noah, so you have no idea who I'm talking about right now. But Noah's been getting a little bit better lately, so I do want to cover them if they continue to do so. And actually, Shelton Benjamin is going to be in the main event of their next event.
Cool.
Getting a world title shot against
All right.
Shiozaki. Other than that, Andy, you talked about what culture this website actually starting
What
some sort of
culture-
wrestling company?
Yeah, they're a YouTube channel. What Culture is kind of like Watch Mojo, and that they do like top 10 lists of like, top 10 movie facts you didn't know, or like top 10 superheroes, and they have a whole wrestling section
they
called
do.
Watch Wrestling, and they talk about wrestling. It's mainly run by Adam Blampier and Adam Pacitti, two gentlemen from the United Kingdom or the British Isles. I'm not sure where exactly they're from in that area, but they're from the British Isles region.
They have the accents.
Very, very strong accents. And they've been doing this thing. They have a What Culture Championship, and before each pay-per-view, they have like they make like predictions, and who wins gets the belt. And the storyline's been progressing where Adam Pacitti had the belt, and then the other Adam won it at a pay-per-view, and then the other Adam disappeared. And then
There's too many Adams. You
there's
lost
two.
me.
Well, because the one Adam disappeared, and then he had a group of followers called Pacitti Club, and they have T-shirts with like mustaches instead of like whatever the Bullet Club symbol is. It's probably bullets and guns, but
Sort of, yeah.
and the other Adam had BX for Blampier, like Generation X, but like BX. They have this feud, and it's going on, and it's just been them doing like stupid like pranks and like backstage segments. And now they've created a wrestling company, and now they're choosing actual wrestlers to fight for them in events that they're sponsoring.
Okay. I could see that being a working storyline. So to wrap my head around what they are as a wrestling company, I understand what you just told me about how they came up from the ground up, but what are they as a wrestling company? Is this a weekly online television show? Are they holding wrestling house shows in their
They're
area?
going to hold like a wrestling house show. I don't know how frequently it's going to be, but it's not going to be often.
And is it for the purpose of an online TV show, or is it that they've started this company and this is going to be their first event and it's not even televised?
A little bit of both. I think this is kind of like they're using the online storyline as like a starting point, and then based on how well this event goes, they might move forward and have more events with more
Gotcha.
consistent wrestlers and storylines.
Okay, they're building a company.
So it could be pretty cool
All
because their storyline's actually been really interesting.
Something
so
to
it's,
keep an eye on.
It to be interesting. It's they have. I think Jay Lethal is actually going to be on one of their shows.
Oh,
Hell
So
yeah.
that's very legit.
Yeah, and I think they were calling. One of them was calling Eugene to represent him.
Oh, all right.
So
Good
like
old Eugene.
they're getting some like actual wrestlers. I think one of them has another like I forget his name, but they have ins with wrestlers because they do interviews with large stars all the time. So I mean, I guess
And
they
to
know
get
people.
Jay Lethal is pretty important because Ring of Honor doesn't really let their talent go to anywhere else if they're contractually obligated with them. So, interesting. They got
Yeah.
Lethal.
So it'll be cool. It's gonna be cool to see how that plays out.
And since I don't think there's really much to say when it comes to Sheamus being part of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie, and I don't really care to elaborate on that anymore, the only thing left we have to mention is the one thing that people probably thought we were not acknowledging, but more than just the picture and the image you're seeing for this podcast. This week, Muhammad Ali passed away. I believe he was 74 years old.
74.
Yeah.
Okay. I heard about it the other night at midnight, so it was shortly after it was announced. It sucks.
He had been fighting. He wasn't in good shape.
Yeah. I mean,
towards
he
the
hadn't
end.
been in good shape for
Very long
years
time.
Yes,
now.
like 40 years he was fighting Parkinson's
Yeah.
to the point where he couldn't talk.
Yeah, and you don't want to see anybody suffer, but you never really know the condition they're in unless you actually talk to them. And
Yeah.
I don't know about you guys. I never spoke to Muhammad Ali.
No.
No, but he was just in my opinion, seriously, the greatest icon in sports ever. Like, he's the greatest.
And a great role model.
Really was. I think he had
He knew he was the greatest before he was the greatest.
Seriously. He did it all, and he didn't, he protested Vietnam to where they took his championship away from him. He had like 9 kids, I think. He leaves 9,
wow.
like 8 or 9 children. But he was the greatest. Everybody's seen the picture of him standing over Sonny Liston with the, holding back. Like, that was the image. That personifies him as who he was. He was the greatest, and he knew it, and he'll let you know it. And without him, there would be no Rock. In my opinion, there'd be
No, I agree.
Right.
There'd be a lot. He was a big fan of pro wrestling too.
Well, he was involved with pro wrestling.
Yeah,
You know, there was the Inoki match that everyone talks about and everybody's been bringing up since him passing. More notably, to the mainstream audience, they know him as being a part of the first WrestleMania. The one thing I didn't know, though, and I knew he had been suffering with Parkinson's since at least the 80s, I didn't know that he was diagnosed with Parkinson's a year before WrestleMania.
Oh.
So being that I was born in 86 after it had all happened, I kind of feel like if I was alive during the times, like, I don't know if it was in good taste for Vince to book him right after being diagnosed like that. But then again,
They might not have known too much about it back then.
that plus, I mean, what are you going to do? Just not give the guy work anymore?
Yeah.
You obviously want, you
He's
know what I
not an
mean? So
invalid.
I'm not trying to paint a picture of like you awful, horrible human beings, but I just didn't know it was that close in proximity with time of it happening. But yeah, there's the Inoki match, which might not be as pleasing to watch because of you guys know about that, right? The fighting style and how but even if you do just watch a bunch of kicking and sliding, it's still just something so iconic. And I think even regardless of whatever history you know of Ali, I think there's few personas in history that just have such an iconic name that just the name itself is something that's timeless and immortal.
Seriously.
You know what I mean?
Everybody recognizes greatness, and even Conor McGregor's came out and said there's never going to be anybody better, ever, at anything.
Right. And to cross over the way he did. I know this is a wrestling podcast and we love our wrestling, but to know that there was somebody in the boxing world that crossed over, and not only crossed over from boxing to wrestling, but by doing that crossover, and a lot of people have been talking about this since he passed, is that he was kind of influential in creating MMA.
Seriously.
Like, you know what I mean? By crossing those two worlds, it was kind of opening the door to mixed martial arts.
Rest in peace. Cassius Clay.
Well, on that note, this is.
And I feel like for once, because there's been a couple times people have passed and we've had to talk about it on this podcast, it gets very sad and then we have to pick it up. This was actually nice of like celebrating the guy. It sucks we lost him. We know he was sick for a while, but we get to celebrate how great Ali was.
Right.
You know?
And if they really want to be picked back up, just go watch Jeff and Matt Hardy.
Yeah.
Yes, go watch that. It's madness. So, like, subscribe, comment, let us know what you think. We're back. Woo!
Yep. New shows every week again.
Yes.
Yes. It's going to happen.
Not that we haven't been doing that. We just haven't released them. But yeah.
We have a Twitter.
Yep.
Yes, and you're going to follow us on it because it's at Chops and Pops, and it's all one word. The O's are O's. They're not zeros. And we are quickly approaching triple digits. I know you want to be that 100th follower.
What?
Yeah.
Wow. Wait, I feel like there should be a prize for whoever the 100th follower is.
Yeah, we should do something. I'm not eating anything inanimate.
If you are our 100th follower, you will win a trip to Matt Hardy's house. That is not true at all.
We'll think of something, and whoever it is, we will contact you.
One free meth ride with Willow.
Oh, man. Oh, man. Oh, no.
And on that note, thank you for listening to Chops and Pops. I'm Andy.
And I'm Andrew.
And I am Shane.
We'll catch you next time.